Well, howdy, y'all. This is Market Explainer. We are the business news podcast. Well, before we jump into this next story, I want to tell you about the sponsor for that segment, which is Powerhouse Drones. My website, we got all this great, awesome information. If you're looking for a beginner drone or more advanced drone, we will send you to the right place to get that, and we will give you a little learning tidbit about buying a drone. That's powerhousedrones.com. And the link down in the description down below.
Very nice.
So this next story, I think, did you send this to me? I think you said
did.
you got your 50% of this week's show is big man, which is a wild statistic. Boston Beer, which is a company, Boston Beer.
It is.
And PepsiCo, which owns Mountain Dew, they're doing a collaboration. And they're going to make Mountain Dew beer because Four Loko wasn't a mess, right? So,
well, it's not a beer. It's a it's a White Claw-esque seltzer, alcoholic seltzer, right?
Yeah, it's a hard soda. Like, I think that's maybe the fairest of what I can gather.
Like a hard soda. So here's the deal. So everybody's heard of PepsiCo, right? Pepsi, yes. Right? Whatever. Most people have not heard of Boston Beer Company. Boston Beer Company is one of those companies that partners with anybody that wants to make its own alcohol, right? Which is why most people don't know them, because you're never going to find a Boston Beer Company beer on the shelf, right?
They're not the brand. They're just the company behind the brand, right?
They make Angry Orchard hard cider, right? That kind of stuff. So what you see is it's almost white labeling is what it is, right? Pepsi goes, hey, we're going to give you part of Mountain Dew's recipe. We want it to taste like Mountain Dew in some way. And you know what I mean? That kind of stuff. And then Boston Beer Company comes back with this criteria. All right, where it's going to be 5% alcohol. It's going to be whatever. Here's what we can do for this price. I think companies, look, we've talked about this several times. No matter how big or small a company is, you're either growing or you're dying. There's no third direction.
Correct.
Companies that make soda, Coca-Cola, PepsiCo being your two biggest ones, right? Companies that make soda have been trying to offload their sugary stuff for decades now, right? Sugar is the devil. We all know it. White sugar, white flour is just the devil. We all know it. Mm-hmm. So they continue to try to come up with things that they can sell so that they can scale back these things. So this, even though this is going to be alcoholic, it's going to be sugar-free and caffeine-free.
Right. Oh, really? So it's caffeine-free, too?
It's going to be sugaring. I think the caffeine-free is a mistake, but maybe it's a caffeine and alcohol thing that's not supposed to go together. I don't know. But it's supposed to...
every version of that combination of caffeine and alcohol has ended in some kid at college getting his stomach pumped. So
is that right? But I can't think. What other alcoholic have I? I don't know if I've ever had an alcoholic drink with caffeine.
Four Loko was basically Mountain Dew with booze, right? And I'm not saying I have though. Like I've definitely, a couple of my buddies once we went and bought a bunch of Four Lokos, and it was bad, right?
Which is why it's called Four Loko.
Four Loko. I'm just glad Ben lived, is all I'm saying. All right, our buddy Ben almost, right? Guy survived a couple of tours in a couple different countries where the U.S. is engaged in combat, comes back home to almost eat it, almost bite the bullet in the attic of his garage. Ooh. So, sorry. Oops.
Well, I mean, look, when I said I used to work 3 jobs and some days not sleep, I mean, I lived on Mountain Dew, Jolt Cola. Yeah. I mean, lots of Mountain Dew, Jolt Cola, and Mountain Dew.
Old.
Yes, I know.
You are the oldest person.
Mountain Dew and Jolt Cola back in the day were the drinks that had the highest caffeine content, right? True. So I, like 24/7, I had a Mountain Dew, a Jolt Cola in my hand because that's how I kept going. And so what's surprising to me about this, because it's not surprising to me that any company wants to take what is probably their best-selling product, right, Mountain Dew, and make an alcoholic beverage out of it for adults. Because I'm sure adults drastically drink less Mountain Dew than kids and teenagers and young adults, right? Yeah. I don't see 40-year-olds just walking around with Mountain Dew all the time, right?
So this is
with the White Claw.
But if they do, they got to dip in, and they got a Dodge Cummins truck, the second gen Cummins, 100%.
That is very true. They got an empty can for their spit, and then a full can that they get mixed up from time to time.
Yeah.
But so I know why they're doing it. Right. I do, however, think that, and I don't remember whether we talked about this story. I think we brushed on it, that hard seltzers as a category, everybody was betting was going to be huge. Right. But at least from a number standpoint, there was an article that came out like 2 weeks ago that apparently the hard seltzer thing is over. People have, as from a sales standpoint. So we're talking about PepsiCo coming out with a hard seltzer in early 2022.
When the seltzer category is on a decline.
When it's on a decline. So
I didn't know that information. Now, as someone who's allergic to both wine and beer.
Really?
Yeah. I developed a beer allergy when I was 25. Okay? Almost took a header off a bridge because built a temple to beer, right? So, well, they always say your body's a temple. Mine's a temple to carbs. But I'm in that. If I'm sitting down, which is super rare, my pals have a drink and we're not, drinking bourbon or whatever. I'm drinking an Angry Orchard, right? And the last time I was with my Orchard, I was with my buds and he grabbed a thing of White Claws. I was like, "What are we doing here, bud? What are we doing?" And then we had them, and I was like, "Well, these aren't as bad as I thought." But then you have 4 of them. It's like, well, now I can't drive.
Well, I put these hard seltzers in the category of fruity drinks, right? Yeah. That's what they are to me? This one's coming out. I think it's going to start with black cherry and watermelon. Right. So these are things that people like. I like a black cherry flavored Kool-Aid or whatever. So if it tastes like black cherry, but then it has alcohol in it, I'm not anybody I've never made fun of anybody, even back in the day when wine coolers were the uncool, but everybody drank them because they didn't taste like alcohol, right? Yeah. I never made fun of people. Again, you should drink something you enjoy. Yeah. I'm not a fan that's ever enjoyed those kind of things. Like, I've never enjoyed the fruity, whatever. The fact that you are allergic to beer and wine, though, I find hilarious. Even I shouldn't. But it makes sense some way in their universe. Yeah. And the fact that you didn't develop it until you're 25 years old is like, what is wrong with you, man? Like,
yeah, I know. I never cared about wine. I still don't. That was the biggest hurdle for me, loving Gary Vee as much as I love Gary Vee, is how much he talks about wine. And I'm like, well, I'm allergic, bro, so I can't participate. And wine is just too hoity-toity for me, right?
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in between, like a blue collar, like, aw shucks kind of guy. But sometimes have taste that's a little too exquisite for that kind of vibe. But listen, I just think that, first of all, I didn't realize Pepsi owned Mountain Dew. That's a bombshell for me. I knew, of course, I figured it was a Coca-Cola product. And in this CNBC article, which will be in the description, I also didn't know this. Coca-Cola is creating a Topo Chico hard seltzer.
I did see that, and that is interesting because there are a lot of Topo Chico loyalists out there.
Yeah.
I know we're in Texas. Yeah. You know what I mean? That's a big deal. So for them to be making, I would be curious to how they're gonna flavor that and how they're gonna, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I get it. You got a lot of people out there that are loyal to that. You add alcohol to that.
Yes.
Done. Lots of sales.
You got a customer right here, okay? La Croix or LaCroix is for criminals. The only people who drink LaCroix are Canadians, and they're all criminals. They're gross, okay? I hate LaCroix. LaCroix is from the neighboring...
is not bad.
Yes.
It's not bad.
That's not true. I'm just saying there's a certain country in the subcontinent of India, which I think all they drink is LaCroix. And I think they recently had a little change in government over there. So I think I'm kidding. But I just think that, what you said was correct. And, we're going to wrap up here. But the fact that they are using the Mountain Dew brand, because PepsiCo has access to plenty of brands, right? And using Mountain Dew, I think what they're trying to do is nostalgia.
Right,
So-
because I've never tried a White Claw.
Right.
I have no desire to try a White Claw. It's not in my wheelhouse. However, I will try a Mountain Dew seltzer.
Yeah, because what are you going to do? Join a sorority? What are you rushing a sorority? You're drinking a White Claw?
Which is exactly my point. Like,
Yes.
that's my point entirely.
White Claw, listen, be whatever you want to be in this life, but White Claw ain't for straight dudes. That's all I'm saying. God bless.
I did not
whatever it
say
is you
that.
want to be.
I don't agree with Danny's
Of course
statement.
not.
However, I
Be
will
whatever you wanna
try
be in this
Mountain
life.
Dew hard
That's
seltzer.
what I'm saying. You're not going to get me to be a loyalist to Truly. The name is terrible. You're not going to get me to buy White Claws. But Mountain Dew seltzer, that's just extreme enough for a guy like me.
I'm definitely on board for it, but I'm not doing the White Claw thing.
Right.
Not doing it.
But before we close out, I want to give everyone a piece of advice. It's easier to be a big fish in a small pond that is rapidly scaling than to be a small fish in a big pond that has surpassed its critical mass.
I think I get dumber at the end of every episode with your comments, but whatever.
Is a word of advice to our lovely audience.
It's not advice.
It is.
We'll see you next time, folks.
The pond is rapidly scaling.
Get out of here.